Hello. Today we're going to review how to compare fractions using fraction strips and number lines, and then I'll also be teaching you one more strategy that I find helpful. For this episode or this video, this is from page 245 in your book. That was assigned before spring break, so if you have that page done, then you'll be able to check your answers with it here. So comparing fractions using fraction strips and number lines is what this lesson focused on. And what you do is you put the first fraction on the top number line, so 4/5 would be 4 jumps. 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. So I found where 4/5 is. And then 7/10, you do the same thing. 7 jumps out of 10, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. And you can see that 4/5 is a further jump than 7/10. So that would mean that 4/5 is greater than 7/10. So the next thing you can do is to use fraction strips to compare. So if you have your folded ones at home, you can use those when you get to problems at the bottom with no visual, or you can try to draw some. Make sure your parts are equal. That's always an important thing, is that your parts are equal. Otherwise, it doesn't really work for comparing fractions. So comparing 3/4 and 5/6, I'm just going to color 3 of my fourths. Sorry if the angle is weird. I'm waiting for Amazon to bring me a tripod. Might take a couple more weeks. Okay, so there's my 3/4. 3 out of my 4 parts shaded in. And then 5/6. I think this is going to be pretty close. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see, you color further out on 5/6. So then that tells me that 5/6 is greater. 6 can be hard to draw, but if you draw thirds first and you know you have 3 equal parts, you can just split those parts in half, and then you'll pretty much have 6ths. They have 12ths down here, not because it's part of the problem, but just to show you that that's another comparison you can use. Okay, so down at the bottom, then they just have some practice problems, and at the bottom you need to try to visualize which way is, or which fraction is greater. So one thing I like to do is think about comparing these to the fraction 1/2. If you know whether the fraction is greater than 1/2 or less than 1/2, sometimes that helps. So I think they have this 12th strip here because there's 12ths here. So they're saying, hey, look up top and use the fraction strips to help you with these bottom problems. So 3/4 I know is greater than 1/2, and there's 3/4 right there. 7/12 is greater than 1/2 also, but it's also kind of close. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 twelfths. 7/12 is half, or past the halfway point, but just barely, because 6/12 would be half. So here is where 7/12 ends up to be, and 3/4 is definitely greater. So the mouth wants to gobble up the larger amount. 2/5 and 3/6 you can compare. 3/6 I know is equal to 1/2. So then I would think, is 2/5 greater than 1/2 or less than 1/2? And I know that it's less. So that would make 3/6 greater. 3/5 and 7/12 is a little bit trickier to compare. 3 out of 5 pieces compared to 7 out of 12 pieces. 7/12 is there. If I had fifths, they'd be a little bit bigger than my sixths, and this is 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6. So fifths would be a little bit bigger. 3/5, 2.5 is the halfway point for 5, so 3/5 would be larger. 3 out of 5 pieces. since there's only 5 pieces, they're going to be much bigger than something cut into 12 pieces. 4/10 and 1/5. I could go up to this number line again. 4/10 is 4 jumps. Here it is here. And 1/5 way back here. So that would tell me that 4/10 is greater. 3/5 and 6/10, again, I could use the number line at the top. And they actually are equivalent, because if you multiply 3 and 5 times 2, 3 times 2 is 6, 5 times 2 is 10. So that also would help to find fractions that have the same denominator. So those are equal. 2/10 and 3/8. So they're both less than 1/2, but 3/8 is close to 4/8, which is 1/2. 2/10 is not very close to 5/10, which would be half. So that tells me that 3/8 would be larger. You could also draw a picture, use fraction strips, or a number line. Okay. Here's another practice page. This one is from homeschoolmath.net. I just Google different practice pages since I don't have an easy way to access our math book. But just if you are concerned that you need extra practice, you can always look to Google to help. Now this page has 1/2 on some of these fractions. So then 1/2 I would shade in, and 10 out of 12, without even shading in, I could be fairly certain that that's definitely more than 1/2, because 6/12 would be half. And so that would be larger. Okay, 1/12 is 1 out of 12 pieces. That's not going to be very big. And 5/5, that's an easy one. That's equal to 1 whole. And that would be all of the pieces, the whole thing. So drawing fraction circles is another strategy that you can use. It's nice when they're drawn for you or shown how to draw them. I found this printable on the internet. But just make sure that when you're comparing fractions, you're using some kind of tool to help you visualize which fraction is greater.